Welcome to the Northern Lights Nation Discography discussion, where we will be exploring the known and unknown releases by Northern Lights Nation. Officially, Northern Lights Nation, as of January 2017, have 3 studio albums and 4 mixtape albums. And as simple and straightforward as that may seem, you will soon find that it is a lot more complicated than that. And for instance, The Harvest Volume 1 was the first release that was the promotional item for the album Smokin' Again, which came out on 4/20/2010. But did you know that there were 3 different versions of Smokin' Again? You have the original release, the deluxe edition, which contained bonus tracks, and then the Smokin' Again rehashed mixtape available on Dat Piff. Now, if you wondered what the title Smokin' Again was referring to, because again implies that you were smoking before, well, it was referring to Ziploc, which was performed by Noxa and Big Tune, produced by Cam Carl, which was supposed to be on the East Coast Crunk album, but eventually was only an EP maxi single, and also appeared on the Smokin' Again album. The song Grind on Smokin' Again also references Ziploc, the track We Them Boys Getting Money by Big Tune, aka Cartoon and Cam Carl. Noxa references it on Grind by saying, "If you looking for them boys, you can find us at the spot." And somewhere on one of the songs, Cam Carl references the track Tip Back.
Smoke, we drink, we party all night long. Open up a shot and drop it like it's hot, and it's the bomb, y'all must have forgot.
Which is also on the Ziploc EP. And that's why I believe Ziploc EP is kind of like a prequel to the official Northern Lights Nation discography. What makes NL The Harvest Volume 1 collectible is that it contains 2 unreleased songs, one that samples Love Isn't Always on Time.
See the truth in the lies, no mistake, no surprise. Yeah, you wish my demise, my success you despise. Take the weight on my back, no, I will not collapse. Call me quick to react, yeah, I am what you lack.
And the other that samples Michael Jackson's They Don't Care About Us.
It's conspiracies and rumors, man, I think they speaking too much. Paranoia is the basis, we don't really hear the truth, but it's convenient to forget all the prophecies, and yet now we begin to see effects and how then everything connects resemble.
There are also 2 songs on the Solid State Entertainment State of Emergency Volume 2, The Lost Tapes, that have a connection to Northern Lights, and those are the songs Get Down,
So fuck a platinum, I'm platinum raps. If hip hop's dead, I'll bring it back to the king of men. Y'all know the truth. Tune, burn down the booth.
because Cam Carl, Cartoon, and Noxa all have verses on it. And the other song is Down for Mine, which the instrumental to it was the same instrumental used on Walk This Way from the Diary of Santa Marta Remastered and Harvest Volume 2.
Like fight, get your hands up, fight, better speak up. Yeah, time to man up, you know I'm like, yeah, what? Rock eye, motherfucker, never die for mine.
And one more thing about the Ziploc EP, it contains the song Stayin' Blazed, which to this day may be my favorite Cartoon song of all time.
I've been around the globe, I smoked all kinds of dro. I blazed a million blunts, then blazed a million more. That purple stuff that's so good. Can you smoke another bowl, man? Yes, I could.
And come to think of it, that song is referenced on 420 on the Smokin' Again album. And while we're covering the pre-Northern Lights albums, I would like to bring it to your attention that Cartoon has anywhere between 10 and 13 solo albums prior to Northern Lights, depending on how you slice it. And those are Element of Surprise, School of Hard Knock, Glory to Gutter, The Nation, Cartoon and Noxa Blowing It Up, 3 Steps Ahead, Solid State of Emergency Volume 1, Dream Team Ladies Night, Dream Team Echo 4, Big Tune King of the City, Cartoon History Lesson, which is the greatest hits of the best songs of those 10 albums you see depicted in the picture. Then you have the Ziploc EP, Solid State of Emergency Volume 2. Oh, and let us not forget the DVD, Big Tune, Cam Carl and Young Stacks live at Rumors 2007, with the mix CD live from Rumors 2007, and then the DVD, Confessions of a Made Man, starring Cartoon and Jonathan Lippy, the DVD, which goes in depth over 70 minutes into those first 10 albums, breaking each down bit by bit. So if you're interested in this pre-Northern Lights history, check out that DVD, Confessions of a Made Man. It's available on Amazon. So that's the 10 to 13 albums, DVDs. And then you also have Smokin' Again, which at one point was considered the 13th album, but now that Northern Lights Nation has taken on a life of its own, it's considered the first studio album. And obviously, And Now the Harvest Volume 1 is the predecessor to Northern Lights Smoking Again, and then Ziploc EP or Solid State Volume 2, if you want to consider those minimal songs that the group really wasn't called Northern Lights yet. But Ziploc and East Coast Crunk are certainly the origins of Northern Lights Nation. If you did want to peek into the history of the early era of cartoon, I recommend simply getting History Lesson and avoiding the entire albums. History Lesson you're getting the best of, and even that is pushing it. But History Lesson's a good primer. We hadn't created that album yet when we were filming Confessions of a Made Man, but that History Lesson is essentially the soundtrack to Confessions of a Made Man DVD. Now that we've established that prehistory and pointed out that NL The Harvest Volume 1 was the first release, Smokin' Again was the first studio album release, and as I said earlier, contained 3 different versions: the original, the deluxe edition, and the deluxe edition contained Swerve On. Which, after they completed the album Smoking Again, they made Swerve On, and they thought it was so good that they did a re-release, the deluxe edition, which also contained rock versions of some of the other songs, like rock remixes.
I smoke a little reefer, I smoke a little more. The shit's so fresh, you can smell it through the zip. I got that.
And then Swerve On, which at the time was considered their best song. They released the single and music video My Life to promote the album Smoking Again.
And it's the life I'm living in, and I wonder what he'd ask if I was standing next to him. Would we talk about my past and these things I can't forget, or the future of events that I'm destined to regret?
Other notable songs on the album are Flag of War, Bag Full of Lies, Like Us, Burn Ride, NL Music, the original, and Let Me Fly. Next up, we have Northern Lights, The Harvest Volume 2, The Lost Chapters of Santa Marta. So we know that Karma and Walk This Way eventually made it onto the remastered edition, and Like O was on the original release, but 3-2 Familia did not.
Papa was a hustler who came from the wrong side. Pistol in his hand, get a grip, they would all cry. Told me one day, son, we all gon' die, so don't let nobody tell you how to live your life. Started off as a youth, too young to understand the truth, or even get the point of view of what my father had to do.
Weed Song number 2 is probably the most forgotten track from this album.
Fire up the bud, roll another one, I won't give it up, cause I'm addicted, demons in my brain, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma smoke again, cause I'm addicted.
And finally we have Losing My Mind.
Recognize the greatness, yes, time has arrived. Open up them gates, let my people inside. I've been waiting, now my patience is gone. Got me flipping out before I'm tripping now, man, they got this all wrong.
And everything I covered up until this point in this video is the lesser known trivia tidbits, obscure background of Northern Lights Nation. Everything that follows from here on out is more present day, widely known. And also what I covered to this point, I want to point out, is not the best of the standout tracks. It's more of the obscure tracks, the things you would only find out from someone that's been there throughout the entire process. And this brings us to the Diary of Santa Marta. So much talked about ad nauseum on this channel. Here we are, the Diary of Santa Marta, which came out on 11/11/11 in 2011. This album featured the single and music video for their most popular and widely known song of all time, We Shine.
We shine, put the windows up tight, roll the sticky, pour some Manny, yeah, we riding all night. Yeah, we shine, put the crowd up in the ruckus, and the music in your speakers, yeah, we bomb you motherfuckers. I got a lot of haters, I heard them talk about me, but I'm about my paper, in love with currency. We getting euros, baby, from sales across the sea, but love the USA, salute my Franklin's daily.
4 years later, we remastered and re-released the album with 2 additional tracks, Walk This Way and Karma, as Dario Santa Marta remastered. To promote the album, Cartoon redid the We Shine video with a different filter and the enhanced audio.
Run them if they want it, we on it, we never stop in competition, just dropping, we dropping, we dropping, dropping. I just live it for the green light, smoking on that mean high, pocket full of presidents and tell them how we shine.
We've talked about this album to death on this channel. We've released 2 books, Northern Lights Nation, The Diary of Santa Marta, the complete illustrated lyrics, and a special edition. There's videos and interviews on this channel about the album, all the stories in depth. If you want to get the book, it's at Bull Moose and Amazon. We've literally said all there is to say about this album. Now, this next album is one of the least known modern albums that they released, and that's Raw and Uncut, the unreleased album. It's available for free as a mixtape from datpiff.com. It consists of 12 to 13 tracks, 12 new ones, 13 total, and these are all unreleased songs that never made any of the other previous albums. And just looking at them, I see from the top, Sex, Drugs, and Dirty Money, Turn Around, the original version.
Turn around, turn around, turn around. Don't let them make you touch the ground. Turn around, turn around, turn around.
Can't turn around this place, so I fucking know. My eyes wander, my surroundings reminiscing on events. The only thing I can recollect is what I'm dying to forget. All these nightmares of finales, visions of me laid to rest. Feel the trials in my conscience, who a faith that I now detest.
The newer version wound up on Filth, but this was like the original version. It's worth a listen. You got My God, Don't Lose Yourself, and Don't Lose Yourself. If you were a fan of Shayna Harvey from the Diary of Santa Marta album, this was a cut track from Diary of Santa Marta featuring Shayna Harvey. Check it out.
You don't need to lose yourself. You don't need to lose yourself. Smile for me, baby. Mama said it's gonna be okay. You don't need to lose yourself. You don't need to lose yourself.
Reminiscing on the night the police pulled my father out. Pops was heading for the tank and Moms was stranded on the couch.
Am I a Psycho? Which that was a pretty big deal at the time on SoundCloud.
You're crazy. I know. They're saying I need my medication, breaking me down with all the hate and locking me up with no replacement. Padded walls for the mentally vacant. Fuck it, I will do anything they won't do just to go prove the history of a psycho with nothing to lose and nothing to gain but bullets and pain for speaking in vain and forsaking my name. Knowing the slaughter that I'ma go bring, knowing your threats ain't facing the things.
Who I Am, So Sweet, Behind the Lies, Back Home with Vision X1. I really enjoy that one.
Get back home, get rough and just rock. California out to Maine, boogie down to New York. We making bangers for the world. We leave them in shock after they found weed and junk. Lay it out on the block,
Over a decade in the making, ain't expecting you to understand what it took to get us here from where it all began.
207 Hitmen, which is like a massive posse cut from people from Maine. Karma, which you already know, and Good to Go. This is not the album you want to start with to become a Northern Lights fan. This is for the fans only. These are all the cut tracks that didn't even make it onto Harvest albums, if you understand. But nonetheless, it's still a nice piece of Northern Lights history, and it's nice that they even released the tracks that weren't fit to make it onto one of their official releases. But at least you get to hear a different side of Northern Lights, and it's not all the beats were made by Cam Carl, so this is like one of those strange stepchild albums, but it has a neat place in the history. And that brings us to the Harvest 3, the Filthy prequel, which predates Filth, and for a while may have become Filth, but Filth did eventually come out. But to hold people off for nearly 2 years, the Harvest 3, the Filthy prequel, filled that void and really built upon the success of the Diary of Santa Marta, and especially expanded the brand with the music video and single NL Music 3. NL Music 3, the music video and single, were such a fantastic follow-up to We Shine. It had the same vibe, the same energy, but expanded on the branding. It really set the stage and hyped you and made you anticipate the release of Filth. Meanwhile, you get this 10-track prequel, which feels like an album in itself. It was presented as a mixtape, but unlike Harvest Volume 1 and 2, this one felt like a self-contained album. It didn't feel like a promo. It felt like its own individual album. So let's take a look at this track listing. First, we have Glory and the Fame, and Glory and Fame has a music video.
For the glory and the fame, I give them everything I got till the people know our name. When they ready for the knock, as we murder on the stage, and we about to take over your spot. It's all or nothing in this game. For the glory and the fame, for the glory and the fame, I give them everything I got till the people know our name. When they ready for the knock, as we murder on the stage, and we about to take over your spot. It's all or nothing in this game. For the glory and the fame. Stage lights, cameras on action. No sleep, no pause, gotta fight for the cause. Devastation on stage with the fans and applause. Taking the money and that's all that I know. Tear up the booth and then shut down the show. Load up a shot, buck and explode. Ready, set, go. Yeah, we on that, give it to them hard shit. Raise up, middle fingers to the lost shit. Never giving no fucks from the start day one. I'ma go and get mine regardless. They call us Northern Lights at 207-656. See all my haters acting friendly. Y'all can suck a dick. Bring heat, never sleep, gotta grind. So fast, pushing rhymes since the 99. Motherfuckers wanna get it, this my time. Thought I told you all I'd find shine.
And that Glory and the Fame track and video was monumental in that it introduced GA South to Northern Lights Nation and kind of began that 656 real feel to it. I really love Glory and the Fame. Then we got Still Got It in a Ziploc. Now imagine if we didn't cover Ziploc EP, although Ziploc was on Smoking Again. This is the ode to it, Still Got It in a Ziploc. You Don't Know Me has a music video which we'll cover in Filth because You Don't Know Me winds up on the Filth album. Judgment Day, All Black Dickies, which I always told Cartoon they should have made a music video for All Black Dickies. Getting High on Pain, which that could have been a single. When I Roll By was a fan-driven track. Funeral Music almost was a single. I think maybe for someone else's album. The Animal was a great track with, I think Cam Crawl's dad laid some instrumentals on there.
Now I've been down this road for some time, but who knows where it really goes. And I've been working, trying to get mine. How far I'm getting, I don't really know. Ain't gonna spend my whole life working for the man. Keep grinding till the good life is in my hands. Ain't no use running, so tell the world we're coming.
The Animal is one of the best songs to just groove and drive your car and ride out to. I love The Animal. It's such a great track. And, you know, I realize now that they remastered this album. So they did some good engineering on making sure this album came out sounding good. So it was more than just a mixtape. And then obviously you have NL Music 3, of which I showed you the music video for that. All in all, this was a pretty solid mixtape. I think it was promotional. I think it was given out for free at shows and obviously for free online. And then there's also a physical CD you can now buy on Amazon of it. It's a great album. It's got great tracks. And it was a great lead up to the magnum opus, Filth. And this is what it all leads up to, Filth. Currently the final studio album by Northern Lights Nation as we know it. It contained 11 tracks, but each track had 2 tracks to the single track. So what I mean is, if we take a look at the back cover and look at the tracks, City of Filth also has introduction. One Shot, Two Shot, they call it Murder. You Don't Know Me, Pushing On. How I Stay, I'm Feeling Nice. Leaving Here Tonight, Forgive Me, and so on. And that's because you had the song, and then after the song would happen, there'd be like this mix-up, mashup that kind of like took elements of the original song and then created this like secondary track based on the original. It was really artistic, really innovative, really experimental. And that's what made Filth such an interesting album. Everything about it felt like these guys have arrived, and it showed in the sales. This album went number 1 multiple weeks and multiple times of the year. I think it went number 1 in January 2015, and then also again in December 2015, or maybe it was 2016. I can't remember. 2015. And when I say number 1, I mean for independent artists in the state of Maine, and that was the target market that they were working on. So multiple times it went number 1. The The album artwork, the cover itself had like a real prestigious feel to it. They went all out. It just felt like they really arrived with this album. This was the pro album. It had Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony on it, Stevie Stone from Strange Music. So they had famous people on this album. They even did shows with major acts like Busy Bone and Juvenile and Twista and a whole bunch. It's all listed on their wiki site. Oh yeah, and Be Real of Cypress Hill. Can't forget him. This is what it all came down to, and it ended with a show with Method Man and Redman. So I mentioned earlier when we were doing Harvest 3 that there was a music video for You Don't Know Me. Here's a clip from that.
Once in a while, not very often, life seems to come around with a moment where we stop for a minute, reflecting back, remembering an instance where we knew that we almost lost everything we ever fucking had. Staring our fates dead in the face, man, I was just so fucking mad. It's not that I had it bad, but I was twisted up and laced with hate. Smoked out constantly, drinking, increasing, can't sleep, so I'm up late. Think about music, think about money, flashing back on venues, thinking it's funny. So many motherfuckers come around, hands out, claiming they hungry, but we been here starving. So pardon us if we just barging and get comfy with our feet up. Let them be bust, we the realest, it's true.
They also had another music video to promote the album, and that was F Northern Lights.
Put your middle fingers up, tell them we don't give a fuck. You've been hating from the back while we ushered in the front. Heard you talking all that chit-chat, whispers talking shit fast. Fucking Northern Lights, we ain't even here to rip rap. Hope you making money, yeah, they hate me getting paid. And these bitches wanna pitch, yeah, they hate you know the name. All we wanted was a spot, we ain't even come for fame. They just wish us at the moment when we play to run the game. They don't
One Shot, Two Shot was a big deal. Obviously, You Don't Know Me was a big deal. Turn Around was a great song.
You build yourself up with a certain mindset. Learn to regret some of the things you said. For people you've met, but why don't sweat? You can always just turn around.
It's now that moment, standing at the fork, you almost out your eyes, looking for a path to pick, stand alone and swallow pride. You feel the darkness all around, you can't believe your lies, and karma's cashing in on worthless times you tried to cry.
It's amazing the contrast between F Northern Lights and Turnaround. You go from heavy metal guitars and quasi-noise to beautiful pianos and wonderful singing. And that's that polarity, the wide range of emotions that Northern Lights got from Lyrical Fusion, which was my group, and they're the heirs to Lyrical Fusion. And we always tried to have a real variety show, not stick to a single sound, a single style. And Filth embodies that. And on top of this track, my favorite track probably on the album is How I Stay. I love the instrumental. I love the flows and the verses and how all the guys came together. It feels like a flawless, perfect track, much like NL Music 3, just felt absolutely perfect.
So light it up now, we gon' get blown away. My mind is right now, my troubles just go away. I'm feeling nice now and all I really wanna say, this is my lifestyle and high is how I stay. Give me the paper, truck you know we roll out. Smoking, I'm still choking and blowing all them old clouds. Purple from the garden, use caution, I beg your pardon. But Moxie is the farmer, so cotton is not the product. Stupid, we still shining with the finest shades of green. Inhale that potent product, put that chronic in my bean. Exhale that bullshit, baby, I'm about to get serene. And say it for the nation, I'm a good smoking fiend. So bloodshot eyes, when I ride by, smoke the whole supply. When I get high, we just smoking another ounce. Sticky icky, it's incredible, but technically it's treatment. And so homie, this is medical. Baby, never doubted, I love what the shit do to you. Granddaddy hits, I'm my only pharmaceutical. So fucking that it's beautiful and colored like a Rubik's Cube. I smoke it like it's loaded, or you're rolling up your funeral. So light it up now, we gon' get blown away.
So that'll about wrap it up for the Northern Lights Nation discography. Filth took Cartoon Knox and Cam Carl to places their dreams were made of. They've pretty much fulfilled their dreams with their trilogy album releases. They gave a lot to the world with these albums. They're working on an album, Last to Toast. It's an ode to Lyrical Fusion's The Final Toast, as well as 3-6 Mafia's Last to Walk. There's no release date set yet for it. They have a single for it that is absolutely slamming. It has not been released yet. I don't even want to give the name of it, but it's a great track. Last to Toast should be a great album if it ever gets completed. But as it stands now for Northern Lights Nation fans, there's a wonderful body of work. There are so many hidden gems, and there's a lot of stuff I still haven't covered. There are unreleased tracks to this date, and Cartoon's always working on things. He's got so many things going, I can't cover it all. If the Northern Lights Nation Diary of Santa Marta, the complete illustrated lyrics book, sells and hits our target goals, there will be a Filth book. And there's also talks of possibly doing a DVD/Blu-ray, but that's probably way far in the future. So as for now, enjoy Smoking Again, the Diary of Santa Marta, and Filth, the Harvest mixtapes, all the old Cartoon stuff if you want to find that. And just investigate Northern Lights Nation. It's a fun group. They make music from the heart. They're rap fans first, musicians second, and that's what they make, the music for the fans. I've enjoyed them. They've wonderfully held the banner and the baton and the light. They kept that lyrical fusion vibe going 20 years into the future. It's been a pleasure working with them. I appeared on a lot of Cartoon's early albums, but since I retired, I just advise. It's part of Dual Legacy Entertainment, 656 Records, NL Nation. Join the nation. Check them out on Facebook. Check them out everywhere. Amazon, Google Play, iTunes, your local record store. Northern Lights. See ya.